Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. I want to start by asking you something. How many times have you found yourself in a situation where your emotions took over? How often have you reacted impulsively, allowing your feelings to drive your decisions, your actions, or even your relationships? If you're like most people, it's happened more times than you care to admit. We've all been there. Emotions are powerful, and they have the ability to shape our lives in ways we may not even realize. But here's the good news. We don't have to let our emotions control us. We have the power to control them. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can I control my emotions when they feel so intense? How can I stay calm in the midst of anger, frustration, or fear? It's not easy, but it's possible. Emotions are a natural part of life, but we have a choice in how we respond to them. We don't have to be slaves to our feelings. Instead, we can learn to master them, harnessing their energy in ways that serve our best interests. Today, I'm going to share with you how to take charge of your emotions, how to respond rather than react, and how to create emotional balance in your life. Think about it for a moment. How often have you found yourself in a situation where you let your emotions dictate your behavior? Maybe you've lashed out at someone in anger, made an impulsive decision you later regretted, or allowed sadness to hold you back from moving forward. In those moments, emotions can feel overwhelming. They can cloud your judgment, create unnecessary conflict, and even derail your goals. But what if you could break free from this cycle? What if you could stay calm, composed, and in control, even in the face of emotional turbulence? That's what emotional control is all about. It's about learning to navigate life's emotional storms without being swept away. The good news is, emotional control isn't some elusive skill that only a few people are born with. It's something we can all develop. It starts with awareness, becoming aware of our emotions, understanding where they come from, and recognizing the power they have over us. Once we are aware, we can start to take control. It's about shifting from being reactive to being responsive, from allowing our emotions to dictate our actions to choosing how we want to respond. And it all begins with understanding the role emotions play in our lives. Emotions are not inherently good or bad. They are simply signals. They alert us to what's going on inside us and around us. They are messages that tell us how we feel, but they do not define us. The problem arises when we allow emotions to take the driver's seat. When we react impulsively, we risk making decisions that don't serve us, that harm our relationships, or that hold us back from achieving our goals. Emotional control is about creating space between our emotional reactions and our actions. It's about recognizing our emotions without being controlled by them. So, why is emotional control so important? It's simple. When we learn to master our emotions, we regain control of our lives. We stop allowing circumstances or other people to dictate how we feel. We stop reacting impulsively to every emotional trigger, and instead we respond intentionally and thoughtfully. This leads to more harmonious relationships, better decision-making, and a sense of peace and balance in our lives. In the next few sections, we will dive into practical strategies you can use to develop emotional control. These are tools that, when practiced consistently, can help you not just manage your emotions, but master them. Together, we'll explore how to recognize your emotions, how to respond mindfully, and how to build emotional resilience so that you can handle whatever life throws your way. Whether it's a difficult conversation, a stressful situation, or a setback in your plans, you'll have the tools to stay calm, composed, and in control. It's time to stop letting emotions run the show and start taking charge of your emotional well-being. Are you ready? Let's get started. Understanding the power of emotions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you let your emotions dictate your decisions, your actions, or your mood? It's easy to let our emotions control us, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed, angry, sad, or even too excited. But here's the truth. Emotions are powerful, but they don't have to control you. Emotions are an undeniable part of our human experience. Every single day we feel a wide range of emotions, from joy to sadness, from frustration to excitement. And while emotions are natural, we often let them rule over us without even realizing it. How many times have you acted out of anger, said things you regret, or made decisions based on fleeting feelings? It happens to all of us, but what if we could change that? What if we could start taking control of our emotions rather than letting them control us? The first step to understanding the power of emotions is realizing that emotions are not inherently good or bad. They are simply signals. They are messengers that show us how we're feeling, but they do not define us. Emotions like anger, fear, sadness, and joy arise as a natural response to events in our lives, but they don't have to control our actions. The problem occurs when we allow our emotional state to take the driver's seat, making decisions that we later regret. Let's take a closer look at how emotions work. Emotions, at their core, are a product of thoughts. When something happens in our environment, perhaps someone says something hurtful, we face a setback at work, or we experience a moment of triumph, our mind interprets these events. This interpretation sparks an emotional response. The issue arises when we become reactive to these emotions. Instead of taking a step back and responding intentionally, think of it this way. Your emotions are like a wave in the ocean. The wave rises and falls, but you are not the wave itself. You are the surfer riding the wave. The wave is temporary, and while you can't control when it rises, you can control how you ride it. You can learn to stay balanced, ride the wave without being swept away, and when the wave crashes, you can begin again. Just like the wave, emotions will come and go. You don't have to let them define your actions. The key to this control lies in mindfulness. Being present with your emotions without allowing them to dictate your behavior. When you're angry, frustrated, or sad, instead of immediately reacting, you have the power to pause. That pause is the moment of control. By simply taking a deep breath, stepping back, and observing your emotional state without judgment, you open the door to clarity. You see, you have the power to choose your response. Emotions will always come, but your response to them doesn't have to be reactive. When you pause and acknowledge your feelings, you give yourself the space to respond with wisdom. That's when you can choose to act instead of simply reacting. Learning to master your emotions doesn't mean ignoring them. It means recognizing them, understanding them, and ultimately choosing how you want to respond. Emotions don't have to control you. You can decide how to ride the waves of life, maintaining your composure and acting with intention. The importance of emotional awareness. Now that we've discussed the power of emotions and how they can affect our actions, let's dive deeper into the importance of emotional awareness. This is where true transformation begins. Emotional awareness is the foundation for emotional control. It's the ability to recognize, understand, and make sense of the emotions we're experiencing in any given moment. Without emotional awareness, we are like ships sailing on the ocean without a compass, at the mercy of the tides and winds, being tossed around by every emotional wave. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you found yourself in a situation where your emotions took over and you didn't even realize it? You may have gotten into an argument, made a rash decision, or acted impulsively, and only later did you realize that your emotional state was in the driver's seat all along. This is because emotional awareness is often lacking. The more aware we are of our emotions, the more control we gain over them. When we become emotionally aware, we gain the power to observe our emotions objectively instead of becoming consumed by them. This awareness allows us to step back and reflect. Why am I feeling this way? What triggered this emotion? Is this emotion truly serving me right now? When we don't understand why we feel a certain way, we can fall into patterns of reactivity, allowing our emotions to control our actions instead of making choices aligned with our values and goals. Take anger, for example. Anger is an emotion that many people struggle with, but anger in and of itself is not a bad emotion. It's a natural reaction to feeling hurt or threatened. The problem arises when we react impulsively to our anger without recognizing it first. Without emotional awareness, we might lash out, say things we don't mean, or create conflict that wasn't necessary. But with emotional awareness, you can catch anger before it overwhelms you. You can notice the physical signs, your heart rate rising, your fists clenching, and pause. This is the critical moment where emotional awareness empowers you to choose a different path. Rather than exploding in anger, you can take a breath, process what triggered you, and then decide how to respond in a way that aligns with your values. Emotional awareness also helps us understand our emotional triggers. Every one of us has specific situations, people, or experiences that can set off certain emotions. Maybe certain words or actions from others make you feel disrespected, or perhaps past experiences bring up feelings of fear or sadness. By becoming aware of what triggers specific emotions, you create the opportunity to prepare for those situations. This proactive approach prevents emotions from catching you off guard and gives you the power to manage your reactions. The more we practice emotional awareness, the more we can build emotional resilience. Life will continue to throw challenges at us, setbacks, disappointments, and difficult people. But when we are emotionally aware, we no longer need to react out of frustration or despair. We can respond with a clear mind and a grounded heart. We can choose to face challenges with confidence and not let our emotions lead us down a path of unnecessary stress or conflict. To build emotional awareness, start with the practice of checking in with yourself regularly. Throughout your day, take moments to ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Try to identify what emotions you're experiencing and what might have caused them. This simple practice will increase your emotional awareness over time and help you understand your emotional landscape better. Once you know what you're feeling, you can start to take control of your emotions rather than letting them control you. Remember, emotional awareness is not about suppressing or avoiding emotions. It's about understanding them so that you can choose how to respond. By becoming aware of your emotions, you gain the ability to stay calm, focused, and intentional, even in the face of emotional storms. Practical strategies for emotional control. Now that we've explored the importance of emotional awareness, let's talk about how to actually control your emotions in a way that serves your best interests. It's one thing to recognize and understand your emotions, but it's another to take charge of them and use that awareness to make empowered decisions. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring your feelings. It means learning how to respond rather than react to them. Let's dive into some practical strategies that will help you take control over your emotional state and avoid letting your emotions rule your life. 1. Pause and breathe. One of the most effective ways to regain control over your emotions in a moment of intensity is to simply pause and breathe. When emotions are running high, our bodies react with a heightened sense of urgency. Our heart races, our breath quickens, and we feel a sense of urgency to react. In these moments, it's crucial to slow down. Take a deep breath, hold it for a moment, and then slowly exhale. This simple act of breathing helps activate the body's relaxation response, calming the nervous system and giving you a moment to regain control. This pause also gives you the opportunity to respond mindfully. Instead of reacting in anger, frustration, or fear, you can take a moment to evaluate the situation, acknowledge the emotion, and decide the best course of action. Breathing creates the space you need to avoid impulsive decisions that may have negative consequences, to reframe your thoughts. Emotions are often triggered by the thoughts we have about a situation. When you experience a strong emotion, take a step back and examine the thoughts that led to it. Are they based on facts, or are they influenced by assumptions, past experiences, or biases? Many times, we let negative or limiting thoughts dominate our emotional responses. But the good news is that we can reframe those thoughts to change how we feel. For example, if you're feeling frustrated at work because things aren't going as planned, you might think, this is never going to work. I'm failing. But with emotional control, you can reframe that thought to, this setback is just a challenge I can learn from. It's part of the process and I can handle it. By reframing your thoughts, you can shift from a negative emotional state to one that is more constructive and aligned with your goals. 3. Practice self-compassion. One of the key components of emotional control is being kind to yourself, especially when emotions get the best of you. We all have moments when we feel overwhelmed, angry, or sad. Self-compassion is about recognizing that these emotions are part of the human experience and being gentle with yourself when they arise. Instead of beating yourself up for having an emotional reaction, acknowledge that you are human and treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. When you practice self-compassion, you create a safe internal space where you can explore your emotions without judgment. This allows you to work through them in a healthy way without getting stuck in negative self-talk that exacerbates the emotional turmoil. 4. Use visualization techniques. Visualization is a powerful tool for emotional control. Imagine yourself handling a stressful or emotionally charged situation with calm and grace. Picture yourself staying composed, making thoughtful decisions, and responding to challenges with confidence. By practicing visualization, you can program your mind to respond in a more controlled way in real-life situations. For example, if you know you're going into a meeting that typically makes you anxious, spend a few minutes visualizing yourself remaining calm, listening intently, and speaking with clarity. Visualization helps train your brain to create positive emotional responses, so when the real situation arises, you're more prepared to manage your emotions effectively. 5. Develop healthy emotional outlets. While emotional control is about managing your emotions in the moment, it's also important to have healthy outlets to process and release emotions when they build up. Physical activities like exercise, yoga, or even a simple walk can help release built-up tension and boost your mood. Journaling is another great way to express your emotions and gain clarity on what you're feeling. By incorporating regular emotional outlets into your routine, you prevent emotions from bottling up and becoming overwhelming. These outlets act as a release valve, allowing you to process and let go of negative emotions in a healthy, productive way. 6. Boundaries with others. Often, our emotional reactions are triggered by interactions with other people. It's important to set clear emotional boundaries with those around you. This means recognizing when someone else's behavior is negatively impacting your emotions and having the strength to protect your peace. If a conversation or situation is becoming emotionally charged, it's okay to set limits and step away. You have the right to prioritize your emotional well-being. These strategies are not quick fixes. They are tools that, when practiced consistently, can help you develop strong emotional control. Remember, it's not about eliminating emotions. It's about learning to manage them in a way that aligns with your goals, values, and personal growth. Emotional control is a skill that takes time, but with patience and dedication, you can become the master of your emotions rather than letting them control you.